Welcome to the Peak Potential Success Show. My name is Fong, and today we have another great guest. He is an absolute powerhouse when it comes to franchising. In fact, he's been helping a lot of entrepreneurs get started. He's been creating a lot of entrepreneurs through franchising. In over about a decade or so, he's been able to create hundreds and hundreds of successful entrepreneurs and also successful territories as well. He's co-authored the book with Shark Tank's Kevin Harrington. He's also a two times Wall Street Journal best-selling author with the books Real Freedom and also Expert Resilience. So please welcome franchising maven, Mr. Gregory Mohr.
Fong, thank you very much for having me today. It's an honor.
Hey, it's awesome having you here. Always a joy speaking with people who are a success and also an expert in what they do. And not only an expert, you're a maven at it. So please share with us, how did you become this person who's so good at franchising? And then also explain to us, like, how did you, like, why franchising?
I'll keep it short and sweet, Fong. As far as how I first got into franchising, we go back into the Wayback Machine. Back when I was 16, we all got a job somewhere. It was usually fast food. Mine just happened to be Taco Bell. And I ended up moving up in the Taco Bell world. And I found out I was working for a master franchisor, Kathy, who owned 50 Taco Bells throughout the Sacramento, California area. Never heard the word franchising before, had any clue as to what it was all about. But I helped her build up her restaurants. I went on to do a couple other things. We managed restaurants for 15 years, microelectronic circuit engineer for 15 years, and I had a couple of businesses while I was an engineer. Got out of those, got out of the corporate world, and said that franchising thing was a lot of fun. I got to go back and do that again. So I went out, and with the help of a franchise consultant, I did not know they existed at the time, so I had lots of franchise development people calling me. And I got a hold of a franchise consultant. He made the process nice and smooth, so I got into my franchise and did that for a couple of years. But I really like what that franchise consultant was doing because he got to work from home, good use of your time, you're not traveling anywhere, and work with all sorts of wonderful people throughout the U.S. and actually throughout the world in some cases. So that's how I got my start there. And why franchising? Franchising is, from my point of view, what I thought is I didn't have the latest, greatest idea. I know I wanted to work for myself. Tired of the corporate world after 30 years in that. I wanted to set my own schedule, do my own thing. But since I didn't have the latest, greatest idea, I just said, somebody else is out there has got a great idea. They've already done it. They've already made all the mistakes. They know what not to do and what to do. And that's where franchising came back to me. And I said, got to go out and find myself a franchise. Very excellent at training. They show you everything you need to do. I did a Schooley Mitchell telecommunications consulting franchise. And Dennis Schooley, he had everything outlined right there. Who do you talk to? Where do you give presentations to? What do you say to these people? They're always going to say no because we help them with the telecommunications or phone bills, basically, like doctors' offices and car dealerships. So they're always going to say no. So here's what you say when they say no, because you're helping them. You're providing a great service to them. So I love that kind of training, and I think it's very beneficial for people who want to become entrepreneurs, don't have the latest greatest idea like I had. You can just walk right in and it's already set up. You never wonder, what do I do next? Because you've got that playbook right there, step by step, and you've got mentors and you've got other franchisees that are helping you out. But I will admit, while there is a franchise out there for everybody, not everybody is for franchising. So I just educate people as I take them through the process to make certain that franchising is right for them to begin with. And if it is, which franchise? But it's the way to go. If you want to become an entrepreneur, you don't have that latest, greatest idea, and you want a team of people helping you out.
So you mentioned that franchising may or may not be for certain individuals. So aside from what you mentioned about the you want to become an entrepreneur, but you don't have the latest and greatest idea, what else would categorize a person to be a fit for franchising?
First off, you're going into business. You got to have some risk tolerance. It is risky. It is a business. There are always going to be some risk. You reduce the risk by getting into a franchise, and by getting into a franchise that's been around a long time, even reduce your risk further. So risk tolerance, you have to be able to be mentored. You're going to have somebody mentor you on that. So you got to be good at that. You have to be able to follow processes, systems, procedures, because that's what franchising is all about. And even one of the most important things is you've got to be great at communicating, because you're always going to be communicating with your mentor, with the franchisors. So you've got to be open to communicate. Those are the things that are most important when you're going out and getting into the world of business or franchising in particular.
Right. Now, when it comes to franchising, is there anything that people have uh, some myths or some unknown facts that they kind of just go, no, that's not true, or whatnot? Like, what are some of the things that people think first that's completely not correct, or that they don't realize that franchising can provide them?
Great question, Fong. So a lot of my people that come to me, they don't know a whole lot about franchising. So when they think franchising, what you and I see every day when we're driving down the road,
Yeah.
McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, the brick and mortar places, they figure it's going to cost, $1 million to invest in it. You got to work it full time. And amazing, a lot of people still think that, but that's not entirely true. Now, there are some that cost that much, and you do have to work them full time, but there's many that are not on that. So you have the brick and mortar franchises. Those ones are a little bit expensive. They start out at around $300,000 total investment on those. But there's many of those that you can do semi-absentee as well. A manager-run model where you hire the manager runs the place, and you just manage the manager 10 to 15 hours a week or so. And then there's the other end of the spectrum, which is the service industry. So with the brick and mortar, you build it, they will come, general theme, A plus real estate location. The service industry is a little bit different in that your clients don't necessarily know you exist until they need you. So you need a good franchise system to drive people to you when the need arises. Those are around $150,000, give or take, on that for a total investment. And many different of those can be running semi-absentee. Some run full time. So think of things around the house, starting from outside, your yard work, your pest control, your HVAC, your heating and air conditioning systems, your electrical, your plumbing, restoration services, remodeling, senior care, tutoring, a small office, probably maybe making signs for businesses if you do business to business, building maintenance. There's some weird ones out there too, but there's all sorts of different ones. You get duty calls, picking up pet waste. You wouldn't think of some of these things as a franchise, but when they say that, it's like people ask me, well, how many people need, the poop cleaned up in their yard? It's like, don't think of that. Think of like a golf course. They need that poop cleaned. They got lots of geese out there, so somebody needs to come out and clean it. So it's a big business, but it's kind of odd. So there's few strange ones out there, but there's probably a franchise in just about any industry that you can think of, and many can be run semi-absentee, and people just don't realize that they can keep their day jobs and build up something on the side. You will be putting in a few hours, extra hours, so you're going to have to sacrifice some time on that because you have to run the manager. And so keep that in mind. And every franchise is a little bit different as far as how their semi-absentee works.
Yeah. So yeah, as you mentioned, like the first thing that comes to mind for me is like yeah, McDonald's and fast food and all that kind of stuff. So what are some of the more well-known service types of franchises that you can share name wise?
Mhm. So neighborly brands, you might have seen neighborly brands up on your TV on the news. I see it on my news station every once in a while, like Molly Maids, Mr. Rooter,
Okay.
Mr. Electric. You see those. Neighborly Brands is the largest uh, service organization in the U.S. For home services.
Hmm.
So that would be one. That would be one people would probably see more often than not. If you look at the Belfour Group is the largest restoration company in the world. They do be like they had the big thing over with Katrina and the other hurricanes. They did have to clean up over there at Katrina, and they have 1-800 water damage, which is an offshoot, which is a restoration company for fire, water, mold, hoarding, that sort of thing. Huge company on those. Then there's several others. Authority Brands owns a lot of the HVAC, plumbing, electrical, tree service if you want your tree service done, senior care, Happiness Brands, the lawn care, and a few other different things, cleaning windows. So there are a few larger organizations, but for your viewers out there today, for you folks out there today, you probably watch for it in the news. You see it on the top right-hand side, brought to you by Neighborly, and look at that. So Neighborly is one of the bigger ones.
Mhm. I see. You also alluded to the fact that yes, it's going to take some time. Yes, it's going to take some hard work when you're starting up and whatnot. And I have worked with some clients who goes, yeah, I tried franchising before, but man, I just bought myself another job. And as an entrepreneur, you want to grow, you want to create more revenue, you want to create more streams of income. But when you get a franchise, it's more like now all my time is in there and nothing else is really happening. So how does one use franchising the right way so that you can grow and become an actual entrepreneur?
Great question, because quite often, Fong, quite a few people do that because they don't set it up correctly to begin with. So whether the franchise wants you to do it full time, or if you're going to do semi-absentee, and we're talking semi-absentee here, either way, set it up to where you are not what the business revolves around. So if you've got to set it up, they've already got the systems and processes in place. They've got all the jobs lined out, who does what, who does what, when, where, and how. Make certain that you've got somebody in place, a manager in place that's going to run it right away. And make certain that when you do get into it, because people sometimes get into a franchise and the franchise is going to have a minimum net worth on there to make certain that you don't run out of money, the minimum amount. But you want more than that if you're going to run it semi-absentee. So you're going to have the money to put that manager in place in there. So even though the minimum investment may say 200,000, make sure you've got, if you're going to run it semi-absentee, make sure you got $300,000, $400,000 net worth. So you've got the money to get that manager in place as quickly as possible to run it for you. Always thinking about your exit plan. What's going to be your exit plan? Is it going to be an annuity where you just kick back and eventually leave your job and you're still running it semi-absentee so that manager's doing it? Now you put in 10 to 15 hours a week. You've got all the time in the world you want to do. You're going to keep it around while you're doing your day job because you still like your day job, or you're going to sell it. If you're going to sell it, then that business cannot revolve around you. So right away, no matter what you do, you've got to have the mindset and the money to make certain that you've got that person in place that runs that business for you, so you're not doing it. If you were the main person, yeah, you'll buy yourself, you could call it buying yourself a job. You still got something to sell at the end of the day. So, your job you can't sell at the end of the day, unfortunately, but you still have a business that you can sell whenever you want to. And resales or franchises go really quick when they're making money.
What would you say to somebody who goes, okay, I want to start a franchise. How much money do I kind of need to start with? Minimal.
So minimum, what you're looking at there is, if we look at the service industry, those are generally the minimums.
Mm.
So direct answer, $20,000 and
Okay.
the proper net worth. So short answer, $20,000. What does that mean? That means an SBA Express loan. They want 20, I think it's like 16,500 or something like that. But basically $20,000 down will get you an SBA Express loan and about $150,000 to $200,000 loan. And we have funding people that do the fund franchises all the time. So as long as you got good credit, it's easy to do. But that's it. That's the minimum. Keep in mind what I referred to before, though. If you're going to do that business semi-absentee, you're going to want a little bit more because you're going to want to pay the manager as well. But if you're just doing it yourself, then bottom line, 20,000, that's it, and good credit.
Of course, because you have to convince the bank and convince whoever's
Yeah.
doing that loan, right? Now, when it comes to investing, like
Mhm.
like most people think, okay, stocks, and then the next step up would be, oh, real estate, doing rental properties and whatnot. Very rarely do people jump into franchising. And what you just mentioned is like, okay, 20 grand, you could probably start doing something in franchising. A little bit more could get you something more and better. For real estate, potentially you need what, 30, $40,000 to start off with, if you're not partnering up with people or joint venturing with people. So when you're doing a comparison of, let's say, starting off with rental property versus starting off with a franchise, what's the pros and cons between the two? Like, is it easier, more work, more relaxed? What is it?
When I had my two rental properties, it wasn't really too bad. I had, again, have a manager run it. So you get a property manager
Yeah.
right away and they run it. It generally wasn't a whole lot of actual work with the property managers. You get phone calls or emails just to see what's going on. So it wasn't really a whole heck of a lot to do with the property management company. There's a cap on how much you can charge for rent. So you can get as many houses as you want, but then you've got a ceiling there
Mm.
or that on that. With a franchise system, it's probably, I wouldn't say probably, it is going to be a little bit more work because it's a business that you're getting up and running. So you're probably going to be putting in a few more hours a week than you would with a rental property. And when you run the property manager. But with a franchise system, now you don't necessarily have a cap on the amount of money you can make for the same investment on that. And when we're talking 150,000, we're talking like one territory. If you want, and I always tell people, get one more territory than you need for the amount of money that you want to make. Because especially in the service industry, Fong, when they're the first territory, any franchise fee, is going to be around $50,000 one-time franchise fee for whatever you get. The rest of the money that you invest in the business, you would invest in the business anyway on that. So one-time franchise fee is 50,000, one territory, you're good to go. And so let's say they generally want you to make a good six-figure income. So one territory, $100,000 income, thereabouts, and then $50,000 franchise fee. Now, if you want more than one territory, you want to make more than $100,000, you want to make $200,000, you pick up another territory. Well, the second territory is going to be less than 50,000 for the most part, for most franchises. So where the first territory may be 50, the second territory may be just another 30. So now you got two territories for 80,000 plus the extra whatever it takes to get the business up and running. So now your ceiling just goes higher and higher as far as your potential income on that. So you're going to be putting in more hours. I would say most definitely you can be putting in more hours than you would necessarily with a rental property. But now your ceiling on how much you can make, it just goes higher and higher on that, where it's generally capped for the real estate itself. So give and take.
Okay. And then from the service side, you mentioned like lawn care and waste removal and stuff like that. There's people out there who goes, you know what, I could do that. Do I really need to find a company who's obviously branded, but then I don't have to pay that upstart charge, right? So for somebody who just wants to start their own company, what's the give and take and pros and cons there between finding a service industry brand that's well recognized versus starting your own? You may not be able to use brand recognition right away, but your upstart cost will be a lot less.
Absolutely, Fong. Check them both out. That's what I always tell people. Check out and see what it would take for you to do it. Keep in mind, every single one of those franchises did just that. They started themselves. They did it themselves. Now, so why do you pay the franchise fee and why not do it yourself? To avoid all those mistakes.
Yeah.
So you don't know exactly. So when I mentioned earlier that while I was an engineer, I had another business on the side. It was actually a dry cleaners and storage units, and I owned a couple of rental properties as well. So I went in with the dry cleaners with a friend of mine, another engineer, and that was privately owned. We didn't know what the heck we were doing. never run a dry cleaners before in our life. So it's like, what do we do when this happens? What do we do when that happens? So, it took a lot of work to figure out, all right, machine broke. Who do we call? We need some more supplies. Who did this guy do before? The guy that we bought it from, he took off. That was gone. It's yours. It's all yours. Do what you want. So we had to figure all those things out. What you want from that franchise is you want to get it to where you want to be 2 to 3 years quicker than if you were to do it yourself. But I tell everybody to compare. Like I mentioned earlier, franchising is not for everybody. If you've got an idea, if you want to run with it, then compare what's it going to take to build your own business up by yourself compared to how quickly you can get that business with the franchise built up, and see if that $50,000 is worth it. And, just see if you don't mind being mentored. There's going to be some rules and regulations if you don't mind that. Those are things to consider on that, but always do a comparison to see if I do it myself, what's it going to cost, how long is it going to take, versus the franchise. Is that $50,000 franchise fee worth it? Because in addition to the $50,000 franchise fee, you're also paying a royalty. That's 5 to 10% off the top on there. Best way to figure out if it's worth it is talk to the franchisors, and then eventually they're going to introduce you to the franchisees and ask the franchisees, what are you getting for it? Especially ask the franchisees that have been around for a long time. Yeah. Is it still worth it? That royalty fee, what are you getting for it? What's that franchise doing to help you build your business? If you had to do it all over again, would you do it? Great questions.
When it comes to picking the right franchise for a person, let's say they check off all the boxes, their credit's good, they're good management skills and all that kind of stuff. Now, picking the right one, how do you choose that? Is it based on what do you like? Do you like fast food? Do you like McDonald's? Then maybe that's the right one for you. Or is there more to it?
Interesting, Fong. It's a little bit more to it, but most of my people, Fong, don't know or what they do like. One thing they do know is what they don't like. So that one's easy. I can get that one down pretty quick for them. I just tell them off the top of your head, what don't you like? Fast food, senior care, whatever it is. I don't like these. Okay. So what is your skill set? Where have you been? What do you bring to the table? What skill do you, even if you're not going to run the business, you're going to have a manager do it. What skill do you enjoy using every single day? That wouldn't feel like work. That wouldn't feel like you bought a job. What skill set do you have that you like that? So, and then where are you at now? How much are you comfortable investing? How much time can you put into it? And then where do you want to be 5 to 10 years from now? How big of a business do you want to run? Lots of different questions that I put into it. And from that, then I can produce a list for them. So I'm kind of like Match.com and Realtor.com all rolled into one, trying to figure those out. And that is the most challenging part of my business is figuring out. And I work with a few hundred franchises, so coming up with 5 or 10 different opportunities for people, that's the biggest challenge. But I do have a list of questions. Our first call, we get to know each other, make certain that you don't have any unusual expectations for the franchise, like I'm going to be a millionaire in a year or something like that. We're going to get those out of the way first, and then I have them fill out a questionnaire, and then our second phone call, we sit down for about an hour or so and just talk through it. Again, the same thing. What do you like doing? What do you don't like doing? What kind of employees you want to work with? We want a lot of employees, a few employees. You like brick and mortar building? You like service industry? So lots of questions involved in that.
Something you mentioned before was that all these franchises started off somewhere, and that is starting off as single entrepreneurs creating their own company. Now, let's say there's a lot of people out there who has their own companies, who has been doing service industry or whatever, brick and mortar. At what stage would you recommend people to start considering potentially doing a franchise?
Ideal situation, Fong, in that there's 3 things that we'd like to see when they do it. And I've got people that can turn your business into a franchise as well. So if you want to do that, just come see me on that. It's about $50,000. But these are not set in stone, but these are things we like to see. If you've built without more than one location, so you've repeated it already, that's a good plus. 2 or 3 locations, we know that the business is repeatable on that. You're netting per location at least $100,000 on that, because people come to me, that's what they're generally looking for, is a great 6-figure income on that. And then, can your product or service be used in as many cities and states as possible, which allows more growth for you? So those 3 things, 100,000 net, you've reproduced it, and as many people as possible can use it. Not set in stone. We've had many franchises that we've helped build up that had 1 location from there. And then there's been franchises out there that like boat rental franchises. Obviously, you can't use those in every single city and state in the U.S. because there's some places that there's no water. But as many as possible on that. So not set in stone, but those 3 things are good. Will be a good jump start for you to get your franchise going.
Now we're going to put on some rose-colored glasses on, and I would like to ask, if somebody comes up to you and goes, "Okay, I want to start doing franchising," what kind of time period, what kind of things have to fall in place, and everything runs perfectly for them to scale and become like the success that most people think success looks like? Like, for instance, they could retire early or have a good nest egg kind of saved up and whatnot. What is a best case scenario, and what kind of timeline would that take usually?
Best case scenario for you to start really making some good money with the service industry is 2 to 3 years, something like that, where you're bringing it in. I had a gentleman that got into the senior care business, and it was a senior care business that required him to be full-time. He came back to me just between year 2 and year 3, and he said, everything's running like clockwork. I've got a manager running it. It's fine, making lots of money. I'm bored. Find me another franchise. So that sort of thing. Another gentleman had the same thing with the kitchen remodeling franchise. At the same time, between year 2 and year 3, he came back to me, got it built up. It's running great. I want to sell this. He wanted to sell it and get another one. So we got that sold for him. We got him another one. He was making great money after that. So those were 2 people that were doing it full time on that. If you've got a manager running it, you're paying the manager, so you may take a little while longer. And I've had people, depending on the franchise, get to break even within the first year, and after the second year, making great money. Great money, 6-figure income, low mid 6-figure income in 2 or 3 years is very attainable.
At what stage did you decide to go, you know what, this is something that I need to share with people, and start coaching and helping people become franchise owners and entrepreneurs?
I was about a year and a half into my franchise, my School of Mitchell franchise. And so when people say, I get a little side thing here. People say they don't want to buy a job. Well, I did. I didn't want any employees. After being a restaurant manager for 15 years, and I had like 50 employees, I'm like, I don't want to be no employees for me, which is completely opposite of 99% of the people I work with. So I did it myself, but I got to set my own schedule, do my own thing. And I was just going through there thinking, this is awesome. This is exactly what I wanted to do. Is that I was working from home. I'd still go out and visit with my clients because I had to drive out and do it. But I got to set my schedule and do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. And I was already making great money. And I said, this is cool. This is, people need to know that you can step out of the corporate world. There's this opportunity out there to do it. You do have to take a little bit of a risk on there, but for those who have the risk tolerance, this is a great way and a great alternative to being stuck in the office from 9 to 5 or 7 to 5. In my case, 7 to 5, because I worked as a microelectronic circuit engineer in the semiconductor manufacturing industry, so it was a lot of work. And I just looking at myself, doing that, I said, I can't see myself doing this I did it for 15 years. I can't do it for another 15 years. Man, there's got to be more to life out there. Robert Kiyosaki's book, it was his fault. He ruined my corporate career for me after I read his book in a good way.
You and many others.
Yeah, there you go, Fong, there you go. But that was when I was going through that and running that business, I thought, people need to know about this. People need to know that there is another option out there for them that they can look into. So that's why I decided I went back to my franchise consultant that I work with and said, I want to do what you do. I want to work with other people and show them this can be done.
So when you're working with clients on picking a franchise and getting into the franchise world, what are some of the prerequisites when it comes to analyzing which franchise to pick? Aside from like, oh, what do you like? What do you want to be working in? There's also certain matrices or KPIs that you need to look at when it comes to that franchise, and what are potential red flags, or what are things that, oh yeah, that's a good thing, that's a growing thing, that's something that potentially could grow into something better. What do you look for?
So I look for, if people want to reduce the risk as much as possible, I look for essentials type services that people are going to use all the time. So early in my career as a franchise consultant, we had a big run on yogurt shops. Yogurt shops were huge. Then yogurt shops disappeared. Then my funding people said, don't send us anything with frozen desserts because they keep failing. So that made me realize that there are certain trends out there, or certain fads that you got to be careful of. Somebody just asked me that the other day. They were asking about pickleball, what I thought about pickleball. I thought, well, a lot of people like it now, but you take your chance of whether or not it's going to be sustainable into the future. It may just be a fad. Now, if you had gotten into Orange Theory when it first started out, you'd be golden because Orange Theory took off, and it's still doing good. But you'd have to go back and look at how many other fitness businesses started up with similar things at the same time, and Orange Theory came out on top. So we look at things that are, how do they make money now, and what's their business model look like for increasing that and keeping people going in the future. So that's one of the red flags. And another one is when people see things, sometimes they'll drive by places and they'll say, well, this one's really busy. It must be good. Okay. You drive by what time? You're looking at a new food place. You drive by lunchtime. It's always busy. Okay. Well, that's one. But what about the rest of the day? And just how busy is it? How many sandwiches do you need to make in order to make a profit on that? And how many are they actually producing per day? So those are the kind of things that when you want to be careful about fads and whether or not they're going to stay in place for a long time. Essential services are good because now you've got a large number of people that are going to use the service business. So when we're talking about things like lawn care or pest control, not only do you have all the consumers all doing it, but now you got business people as well that you can tap into. So there's one of our pest control companies does consumers, it does businesses, and then they've got a team of people that will go out and get you government contracts on that good recurring revenue. When you're doing something like that, and pest control will always be around. Your HVAC, your heating and air conditioning system, that's something that's never going to go away. You've got a huge customer base because everybody uses it. Some of those things, when you look at those, when you're comparing franchises, is that if you're doing something like a remodeling business, then those franchises are going to look for household incomes of 100,000 or more, so they have the disposable income to use on that sort of thing. So that's something to take a look at there. That whereas if you get into heating and air conditioning, even the households that have less than that are still going to need to use it. So now you got more of a customer base. So I really like, and a lot of my people have, especially my real estate investors, they really love, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, restoration type services, because those are the ones that they work with people like that on a regular basis, and those things are needed all the time throughout the year. No slowdown period.
Now, let's say there's people out there who are less, money's not an object. They just want to put it into something and make sure that it works. Are places like the McDonald's out there and the big name franchises out there, are those basically plug and play and really no issues, or is there different problems that people have to deal with when it comes to franchises like that?
Different challenges that people will run into. And that's one of the things when we go over looking at franchises is what type of people do you want to work with? What type of employees do you want? Do you want skilled labor? Do you want unskilled labor? There's different challenges with each one. So with McDonald's, you have unskilled labor. When I worked as a restaurant manager, a lot of unskilled labor. The thing that you're going to do on a daily basis is hire and train people because you've got people coming and going all the time on there. Now, if you don't want to run it yourself, you have a manager do it, so your manager is doing it all the time. But that's some of the things to think about. Whereas if you get into some of the skilled labor, like automotive services, where you have mechanics, probably not as easily replaced, so a little bit more of a challenge there to find the right ones. But once you get them, as long as you take good care of them and pay them well, they're going to stay around longer. So you generally have less issues with more skilled labor, with turnover rates, calling in sick, all that sort of thing, than you would with unskilled labor, hourly employees that come and go on a regular basis. Probably about the biggest thing there that you need to consider.
Now, as you transition from being your own franchise owner to helping other people and creating entrepreneurs, I know you wrote a whack load of books. So, share with us that process and what led you towards, hey, I need to put this in a book, get it published, and kind of spread the word.
Thank you for that, Fong. The people were asking me the same questions over and over again. I always got the same thing, so I thought, why not just put it in a book and write it all down? Go through the whole process that I take you through, the whole process that you need to go through in order to investigate a franchise. Here it is, all outlined in my book. Real world examples of the people that I've worked with on that. And the very last chapter is about turning your business into a franchise as well. So my thought process was that since everybody's asking these questions all the time, why don't I get a book out there first for them? Check out my book, look through it, and you get to know me a little bit about my personal self in there as well. So either one or two things are going to happen. You're going to go through the book and you're going to think that Greg guy is absolutely nuts. I'm not going to have anything to do with him. That's fine. Weed those ones out. Or the book resonates. I feel good. I'll reach out to Greg and learn more. But it really teaches you everything to know. If you've already got a franchise in mind, you may not need my help. If you've already got a franchise in mind, you know what's available in your area, you know what's your skill set, then go through the book. It'll walk you through step by step how to investigate that franchise.
At this stage, what are you looking for? Are you looking to grow more franchises under your belt, or help more and more people create their own franchises?
Helping more people, Fong, is what I like to do now. So I do have a job, what most people consider a job because I don't have anybody else except for some contractors that do stuff I don't like to do, like marketing and advertising. I enjoy helping others. And I enjoy getting on the phone and talking with others. I can set my own schedule, do what I want, block off time during the day to go outside, play with the dogs, play in the forest. I thoroughly enjoy it. I thoroughly enjoy help other people realizing their dreams of business ownerships, and that's what I will continue to do until I get bored. I haven't gotten bored yet. It's been still good and good, exciting. You get to meet so many wonderful people out there, and you get to go on wonderful podcasts with Fong, another wonderful person who has lots of great podcasts out there. So I just love meeting new people and seeing if I can help them. And not everybody. Keep in mind, it's not you're never wasting my time. People ask me that sometimes. I don't want to waste your time. As you can tell, I love talking about it. So get on the phone with me. Let's talk.
Well, speaking of not wanting to waste your time, there are some people that may or may not be in that industry or even consider it. So therefore, like, what are the right people that you look for to work with? Because you can't be the right person for everybody, and not everybody's the right person for you, and it's not effective. So when you're working with somebody, what are some of the qualities that they have that allows the potential of great success?
Communicating with me, very first thing. You mentioned earlier, communication was a thing. Scheduling calls with me on a regular basis on that. Follow up. So I can tell pretty quick when somebody's going to be get into a franchise or not, because they'll follow up with me every week on that. They'll fill out the questionnaire on a timely basis that I send to them. They'll schedule the next call with me. They'll reach out to me. You know, we'll communicate well. So when I first get them on the phone, some of the things that they have to have is a proper, as we mentioned before, the proper net worth on there. It's going to cost money. It's going to build it up. So if you've got $100,000 or $150,000 and you want to do something semi-absentee and keep your day job, it's probably not going to work because you're not really going to have the money to pay that $50,000 franchise fee, pay a manager, and then do whatever it takes else to, you know, whatever it costs to get that franchise up. So those are some of the things when we first talk on the phone, or at least by our second call, I've got a good idea of whether or not financially it's going to make sense, because I'm not going to put you into something where obviously you're going to fail. And if I send you over to my franchise horse and say, hey, this person wants to do this, they're going to look at me like I'm crazy. And Greg, go find another thing to do because you're not doing it right. That's what they tell me. So my franchisors aren't going to put you in there either if you don't have the necessary funds. So that's one of the things I figure out. And then real quick, again, each week we should be talking, and you should have time to talk to me each week. So if you start saying, this week's busy, I don't have time. Did you talk to the franchisor this week? No, I didn't have time. Well, then if you've not got that time to talk to me every week for half an hour, you do not have time to get yourself into a franchise. Do not go there.
Right.
Do not go there. That's the easiest way to tell whether or not they're going to be a good fit. I don't want them to fail. Nobody wants them to fail. You'll see that in the franchise disclosure documents as well. If that franchise is picking out people and too many of them fail, item number 20. Number of people currently running the franchise, the number of people started it, no longer running it. If the franchisor is picking out the wrong people, you'll see that turnover rate and you'll see it's not growing. Not a good thing in a franchise disclosure document. 85, 90% success rate or better. And that's where we come in to make certain that you've got everything in place so that you will be successful.
Awesome. Now, when it comes to, we talked a lot about franchising, and there's one thing that people must have in order to be successful in franchising is resilience. And you wrote the book on that as well. So share with us a little bit about the secret of having resilience in life, in business, in success.
Not everything is going to go perfectly every single time. And you've got to be able to jump back from that, and you cannot take it personally. So as you're building that business, there may be 15 to 20 hours a week. Okay. This week may be a little bit more than that, and you may be sacrificing some time. So you've got to be able to weather those storms and continue to move forward and continue to have the positive attitude about what you're doing there. You cannot let things bring you down or get to you. You've got to come up with, you've got challenges. Don't like calling them problems. Challenges. You've got to come up with solutions. Great thing about being in a franchise system, when you have to come up with solutions, you've got people to fall back on. So resilience means looking at the challenge that you have and figuring out a way to solve them, not letting it get you down, not giving up, reaching out to the people that can help you, reaching out to your mentors, getting a mentor, getting a business development person if you need that to help you out personally, whatever it takes to keep going, looking towards the future, looking at what that ultimate goal is and what you got to do to get there. You may have some sacrifices along the way, but you've got to look at the long-term picture and see, where do I want to be? How do I get there? And never give up.
I want you to think back to the days where you were facing the toughest challenges, you were facing some of the toughest failures that you've ever faced. What did you do before you picked up the phone and called your mentor or your franchise partner or whoever to kind of give you guidance? What did you do personally during that pure time of hardship to get you over that hump and okay, time to pick it up and call some people?
Well, I took the dogs for a walk and went out on the levee and screamed a lot, screamed like heck. I got laid off. So that was it. I mean, even in my corporate career, we didn't mention how, but I was probably doing too many side things and my heart just wasn't in my business. And I think one of my managers finally figured it out. I should have quit a long time before that. I'm hoping that I would have been brave enough at some point in time to quit. But they laid me off. Greatest thing that ever happened to me. Also, the most devastating things. I'm good. I was a good engineer. I was great. I got lots of pluses all the time. Just towards the end of the career is when it kind of faded away, and that really hurt. I mean, that was a tough one. So what I had to do was, and that's when I was living in Texas, and we lived out in the country. So I just took the dog for walks, sat on the levee by our big pond, and just had to do some real soul searching. All right, you don't really like being told what to do. Typical entrepreneur. You've got to do something different. So you either go back, get another job that you're not going to like, that you're not going to want to do, or now is the time to stand up and go out there and risk whatever it takes to get what you want out of life. So that was a real challenging part. I'd actually even tried to get another job because they said they're hiring in another department, and the lady from the other department called me up, and when I was waiting to see if I got the job, and she said, "No, we had some people that were more qualified than you. They got it, so you don't have it." So I think I actually physically jumped for joy at that time that wasn't actually able to get that job because it was like the forces of nature or whatever you want to call it out there, the powers that be said, "Now is the time. You got to do it." So I just said, resilience. All right, this is it. I've been wanting to do this. I wanted to quit before I was 50. I was 49 and a half at the time. I said, this is it. Do or die situation. This is it. Let's go for it. I use my retirement money to do it. Another way that you can fund a business is 401k rollover, called a rollover for business. I use that, bet on myself, and here I am now, and everything's wonderful. Went in the right
Awesome.
direction.
Those are the stories I love hearing. I mean, it's very common that when I'm talking to like successful entrepreneurs, that what was that moment, and then everybody has that screaming moment, that soul searching moment, and it's very common, and it's always very inspirational hearing it from people like you tell it. So thank you very much for that. Um,
Thank you, Fong.
let's put you back on again onto the world stage, and you get to share one more message. I mean, you shared a lot of great tips already, but what's that one more message that you would love everybody to remember Greg for?
Franchising is a great option to look into. It's not, as I indicated, franchising is not for everybody. It's a great option to look into. Look into it. Check it out. It may be for you, it may not be, but franchising is a great option to look into.
Nicely done. So hopefully everybody kind of thinks about that and keeps it in the back of their minds before completely disregarding it. So it's always something to think about. And for me, I tell people, hey, consider all options. Don't reject things without even thinking about it or even asking a question because you never know what's going to come out. So thank you very much for that. Now, before I let you go, I got five quick rapid fire questions for you. Give me the first thing that comes to mind. All right, you're stranded on a deserted island, one food to eat for the rest of your life, no consequence. What would that be?
Buffalo chicken wings.
Good choice. You're on a road trip, hours on end, one song to listen to without getting bored.
Um, oh.
Wow, you're going through your playlist.
I am. I'm trying to think of the names. If we don't, how's that? How if we don't slow this rocket down, we might burn up. I forget the song. I forget the name of the song.
Well, it's a good thing you're on this road trip because you're never going to forget
That's
it.
true. I'll be on the road trip thinking which song I get, but by that time it's going to be all done. It'll come to me. I forget.
Awesome.
But yeah, sorry.
Hollywood calls and goes, "Hey, Greg, we love your story. Very, very inspirational. We would love to do a biopic of you. Who would you cast to play you?"
Well, my first choice would have been either John Wayne or Clint Eastwood. I think John's gone, so Clint Eastwood would be my second choice. He's almost as old as I am.
Great choice. Clint shows up at your door and goes, "Hey, buddy, I got cast to play you. Let's hang out. Let's have some fun. Boy, I'm hungry." And you go, "Hey, Clint, no worries. I got the best dish that I prepared for you. Come on over. What's that best dish that you could prepare?"
It's a rabbit stew made from our rabbits that we have. I've got a great recipe for rabbit stew.
Ooh, that's a new one. I've asked this question many times. I've never heard anybody bring up that. So excited to hear more about that one later. And then finally, give me a number from 1 to 5.
4.
One, two, three, 4. So iPhone. If you were to use the iPhone as a metaphor for success, how is success like an iPhone?
great communication.
Short, sweet, and simple. Thank you very much.
Yep.
So that's how success is like an iPhone. Once again, thank you for your time and your stories and your wisdom. Any final words from you, and what's the best way for people to reach out?
Cool the engines. That's the name of the song, I think was. All right. So you get a hold of me, franchisemaven.com. Franchise, M-A-V as in Victor, E-N.com. Email me at greg@franchisemaven.com. And since I've already mentioned that I'm old, I'm also old fashioned. Just pick up the phone. Give me a call. 361-772-6401. I answer my own phone, so I'll always be there. Book Real Freedom. Get that one too. It's great, interesting. I don't know if it's interesting reading, but it'll be, yeah, it's interesting reading. You'll love it.
Right. So everybody out there, make sure you pick up his book. Also, if you're thinking about investing, entrepreneurship, make sure you have franchising in your consideration and also an option. So don't rule things out without asking the questions. And obviously, Greg here is the perfect person to ask those questions. So until next time, he's Greg. I'm Fong. Today is the day to lock your peak potential. We'll see you later.